So, good evening, guys and girls, and welcome to the WoT Pro League Season 3 Match Day 11. We have some great games coming up for you today. Not only do we get to see Kazna, some of the community favourites, we will also be seeing Oda Mortis, one of the teams who previously was at the very top of this league. First game, though, will be Team WD facing off against Kazna, which will be a great game. You know, Team WD need to start getting those wins in. Currently sitting on 0 wins. A little bit demoralising, but hopefully they can pull themselves together for this one. Obviously, I am joined by my lovely co-caster, the one and only Laughter WoT, and we'll be taking you through every single step of the game from tank picks to the victors. So, guys, let's have a little look at the league so far so you guys can see what's going down. And why don't you take us through this one and tell us what's really happening so far here?
So let's just ignore the first two teams because they're kind of a given at this point. Team Dignitas and WoT Pro almost, certain to go through into the grand finals of Season 3. But then we can start on DNova, who had a bit of a tricky ride in the last games. Couldn't quite manage to get the win, but they're getting there. They'll slowly start to rack those results up against the top teams. So Evil Panel Squad doing pretty well. I thought they would be a little bit higher, sitting in that 3rd position. Obviously, since they came off the Season 2 second place, which was pretty good for them.
I've got to say it, they had a real rocky start themselves. They were barely getting the wins in. I think it was a little bit of a slow warm-up back to this season, and now they kind of found their footing here. But as you said, after the Season 2 ending, with them obviously going all the way through to the finals, not winning it, but still, they did get there in 2nd place. Sitting in 4th is a little bit of a pale comparison to how they played, but then again, DNova, WoT Pro and Dignitas are in front of them. It's kind of hard to topple those guys. Yeah,
you got to remember, though, I mean, Evil Panda Squad's always been a team that plays well at offline events. They're not so good in the group stages online, but for some reason, they're just like a well-knit together team. They just work well together, and when it comes to those pressure situations where perhaps not every team's performing at 100%, they can just go that step further, and they always seem to get results in. And you've got to remember that they went 2-all against Mousesports, which will be one of the teams today, and they thrashed them at the group stages.
See, the thing that worries me, saying Mousesports, they're down in 9th right now. They've had a really rough season so far. They're not performing to the strength that we've seen before. Last season, clear top 3 team throughout the league, occasionally making their way up there, sitting around that top 6 quite comfortably. Down in 9th, they've really not come out guns blazing this time. What do you think's holding them back?
I think they've had quite a few problems. I was talking to their team captain, team manager, Carmen, or just one of their players. I'm not exactly sure what his role is. I think he's team manager. And he was telling me that there's quite a lot of moral problems within them. Okay. They were talking about, they went to PAX, and if they didn't do well at PAX, then they might consider what their future is in Season 3.
Wow.
Obviously, they did quite well. They came 2nd, only losing to Navi 3-1.
That's respectable.
That's I think it was actually 2-1, but it was close games. That gave them the push forwards. They've never really been a team that's done that well at the beginning of the season. So
true. So it's looking to them in the later half maybe to pick back up.
Yeah, but last time they did bad up to Matchday 9. I think they had 4 wins, 5 losses. Yeah. And then they started doing well. So they've really got to start actually getting those wins in. And their last 2 results, 2-all against Evil Panel Squad, then they lost against Kazna 3-2. So definitely not good for them. And the other team got to mention is obviously Team WD. Since we'll be seeing them today, they haven't done so well, but they've also had a very hard start to the season. They've been pretty much playing all the hard teams. So hopefully they can get themselves back up here. I think Mousesports will be their final test before they start getting those results in. And Oda Mortis, I guess you can talk about them a little bit. They are sitting in 5th. Another team we'll be seeing today against Mousesports. They've had a good start, and they've kind of petered out a little bit. But I think they're just going to get the consistent results in, and I think they're going to be in that top 6 at the end.
One thing I do want to mention to guys at home, obviously we did mention Team Dignitas and WoT Pro are so clear at the top. Underneath that, it's very, very close. In 3rd, they've got 16 points. And then all the way down in around 8th, it's only 11. So there's a lot of movement to be made here. It's not like it's cemented in stone just yet. There's still a lot of chances for these teams to kind of get into their mid-season form towards that later season and really start racking up the victories, because they certainly need to do it here. But back to the topic of the first game. Team WD, 0 wins yet against Kazna, other community favourites who always do well, in like the strangest situations when they shouldn't pick up games. Normally they're like, okay, guys, let's play super serious and get this one in the bag. Not quite to the Spale extent, but, they're still kind of around that marker. Now, in my eyes, Team WD should lose this one. They're on 0 wins.
Yeah.
But you did mention they've had tough opponents. Now, what's your scoreline prediction for this one?
That's a tricky one. I think Kazna Crew sometimes have the off days, like they lost against Ulanska Fantasia, a team they should win on in terms of experience and previous results. So if that happens, obviously Team WD have the skill and the ability just to come out and take the win. So I think it's going to be a 4-1 scoreline to Kazna Crew, and that's just, based on facts and hard figures. But again, if Team WD can catch them on an off day or just play some superb tanks, that team's always had a problem with just individual skill, not with synergy. So if they can just, hit the shots they need to hit, protect the tanks they need to protect, and just play aggressively, I think has always been a problem as well. So I'm expecting pretty close games either way. I don't think Kazna Crew is going to roll over them in any respect.
Well, so that's our thoughts towards it. I'm pretty much in the same kind of position as you. I'm always a big fan of Kazna Crew. I was last season. The best thing I felt about the offline finals, people were like, "Oh, you're so mean to Kazna Crew." It's like, what? I was one of their biggest fans throughout season 2. But, they didn't perform in the offline events. They seemed to struggle under pressure. But, at the moment, they're in a good position. Not ideal, 7th place, but I feel as though this is one of their games. But let's get your thoughts towards this, and let's introduce the social media guru who'll give you the connection to us here in the studio. Melly, how are you doing, my dear?
Thank you, Fancy.
You're good.
Thank you, Fancy.
I'm slow today.
It's okay,
it's
okay.
Monday.
We're all starting, and it's Monday, as you said. Exactly. So let's take this slow. It will be good, promise. So for you at home, I'm here because I want to hear your predictions and your opinions of this match day. And to do that, you have to do 2 small things. Just head over to our Facebook page and our Twitter page and follow both. So you stay updated, even if you're not able to watch the stream. I will keep you on track. And those are the 2 platforms you can get in touch with me. So that's basically all to say to get involved. But on the other hand, we will also have, of course, our lovely bonus codes for everyone, for everyone that gets involved in our challenges. So I will put up a vote on the Facebook page, facebook.com/WoT Pro League, where you have to vote for your team. And beneath the vote, in the comment section, you have to predict the exact outcome of that matchup. And if you get lucky and predict right, you may have a chance to win one of 3 bonus codes. So it's definitely worth checking out. And, of course, those are not the only bonus codes that we will be giving out, but also we will also rewarding 3 tweets of the day. So if you have anything on your mind, if it's feedback regarding our show, our production, our league, or the games itself, then just tweet me what's on your mind, and maybe you will get lucky too. So
there you go. Not a bad way to get involved and get yourself some bonus codes. That sounds pretty damn good to me. And I'd do it in the break if I could, but I think it might be unfair if we start tweeting things out. But hey-ho, I wish I could. But anyway, let's get back to the games. Let's get back to the action. Let's give you an idea of who you'll be seeing in just a moment, because these are the guys you'll be betting yourself towards and hopefully getting those bonus codes if you do get it right. So take us through these lineups. Take us through mostly Team WD in my eyes. Who do you think is going to be a pivotal player to step up here?
So I think generally what Team WD does very well is that they're all on the same level in terms of just their communication. They've got very good communication. They're all from the same country. They haven't any language barrier problems. So generally that's their strong point. Mr. Chef, their team captain, always plays that 50-100. And I think sometimes he should really just consider the T1 role and just play from that, so he can command the whole of his team, let them know what to do without really having to concentrate on his own gameplay and hitting the shots and that kind of stuff. And the other players, we've got Nicholas Black. He's the IS3 player of the team. We got Mikizio, Kaxa, although I think those 2 are actually on their way out of the team. I'm not exactly sure. I know Kaxa 1 is. Not sure about Mikizio. And we've got David, plays a T1. We've got Bontas Kirk. I think he's a T69 player, and obviously you've got 505, who's pretty much, he does everything pretty well. So that's just the backbone of Team WD. And for Kazna Crew, I think everyone knows Kazna Crew at this point. We've got obviously Steel Mojo, the team captain. Veko, AMX 3090 player. Runes plays a T69. Palauda, scout, generally plays scouts. He was T1, and now he plays the AMX 3090 primarily. And the superstar of Kazna Crew is obviously Hyber in that T69. So generally a very strong team, and I think they just continue getting better. I mean, Season 1 and now Season 3, that you can't really compare them. Like they're on a completely different level. Now they can start being your Virtus Pros, your Team Dignitas, your Mouse Sports. Obviously, Mouse Sports not doing so well, but still a very strong team. So generally, Kazna crew doing very well. I think they are obviously sitting in 7th, but they can definitely start heading up the league board very soon.
Yeah, well, we're going to have to find out here right now. So they are ready for the tank picks. Let's jump into that screen. And what do you think we're going to see? We saw actually Kazna crew testing out that 4-1-6 on Abbey before, and it didn't go very well. I didn't really appreciate their strategy of just rushing through the Abbey and hoping for it to pay off. But I think we might get something interesting here on Ruinberg.
I think we could do. I mean, you know, going back to the 4-1-6, I honestly think it's not really a tank to take. I mean, it's just, I can't really see what it does well. Why would you, I mean, it's a bit faster than Pershing, but generally, why don't you just take, instead of 2 4-1-6s, take like a Pershing and 1 4-1-6, instead of just going all 4-1-6 and just hoping it wins. But so far, we got double T1 for Team WD, double T1 for Kazna crew, which means obviously the rest of their tanks will probably almost certainly be just a tier 8 variety. So T69 AMX 5100 from Team WD is their first 2 tier 8 tanks, and the AMX 3090 and the T69 for Kazna crew. So if you hark back to Season 2, we obviously remember Mr. Chef and another, I think it was 505 playing the AMX 5100. They actually like taking 2 on Ruinberg. That's from the south. I'm not sure how that will change from the north if they do end up playing up. I believe they're playing from the south, so probably going to find those 2 5100s in their lineup. But the next pick will be the AMX 3090 and the T69. So maybe they're playing for the north. They only have 1. I would have expected to see the AMX 5100 in the next pick. But instead of going for the other autoloaders, the AMX 3090 and the T69, as does Kazna crew for the next one. So both teams just getting the 3090 picks out. Obviously, you need it for the middle spot. Very quick tank, about 65 kilometers on straight roads. Obviously, train passing, and you've got to remember, you know, soft ground obviously will slow that down. But all these guys have all the 9 crew skills. You'll have off-road driving and obviously clutch braking. T69 and the T69, double T69 even, is coming out from Kazna crew as the next pick. So going for that tier 8 medium American tank, very popular these days. I think it's still viable on Ruinberg just because they know there won't be an IS-3, or very unlikely to be an IS-3 unless you're mouse sports and you decide to pick it randomly. So you won't have problems with penetrating the front of that or the side with that minus 50 penetration on the M348 ammunition. Now just waiting on Team WD's next pick. But so far for Kazna crew, got triple T69, AMX 3090, double T1, probably expecting the 5100 as their last pick, although the Pershing could come out. And the last pick from Team WD will be the T69. So going for a pretty standard setup. I think it's a strong one. Certainly can't fault it for anything. It kind of covers all the bases. The only thing it really doesn't have is a tank without an autoloader. So if you do get into a firefight, you miss a few shells, you can't quite do the damage, and you're on reload, then it gives the team the opportunity to just break in your defense. Last pick from Kazna crew will be the MX 5100. So both teams going for, I believe, the same lineup.
Yeah, so interesting stuff coming out from these guys. I'm looking to see, you know, who really breaks ahead, because we've seen a lot of adaptation coming out on Ruinberg as well. You know, that initial exchange, a lot of teams going very aggressive these days, just going straight head-to-head on that Crescent Moon area, and then kind of splitting off towards, excuse me while I change things.
Yeah.
Do fix for me.
Do,
so I'm
just
breaking
click it.
things.
Click it.
Click
garage.
I'm breaking
Noob.
stuff. See, this is why I'm not trusted with anything, because I generally break it.
Yeah.
So there we go. No more breaking from me. Look at we go. I've fixed things. Anyway, back to the topic of Ruinberg. We've seen a lot of teams kind of adapting and changing. We saw the city push becoming an actual option these days, which was very, very unique to me, because normally I see that little village kind of exchange going down. And, well, to my eyes, I'm quite enjoying that kind of early aggression coming out from teams nowadays, when they just go head-to-head, you just duke it out in that central position. WoT Pro showing they are dominant at that as a Dignitas, and they can just handle themselves so well in that situation. Feel as though Kazna crew would have the advantage in that aspect if they did go head-to-head, just by the way they play. They were quite good with their aggression before, if you do count Abbey as good, and they did struggle eventually there. But, you know, they took the initial initiative, let's say, and they ran with it. But I don't think as though Team WD will allow for that to happen. I'm just going to try and find out if these guys are ready. Hopefully we can give Team WD a bit of a nudge there and just tell them to ready up when possible. But it seems as though they are ready, so they heard me talking. So guys, let's get ready for the first map, which will be Ruinberg.
Ruinberg is one of our newer city maps, and it's fairly large, being 800 by 800 meters. There are 3 main routes of attack: the roads leading to the city, the road going through the middle, and the village area. Each of these have 2 important areas to control. The city has very large roads and plenty of opportunities for teams to flank. The long roads also provide for good sniping areas as well as corner shooting. Teams often push through the village area, and once controlled, the team can move on to the enemy's base. You should pick heavy tanks with high alpha damage for corner sniping, as well as a faster tank for the middle spot.
So, welcome into the first map. As we mentioned, it will be Ruinberg, or at least as Joe mentioned. So let's get our eyes towards what's going on so far. In the north, it will be the blue Team WD, and in the south, Kazna crew in the gold and yellow. So what is going on so far?
So Team WD going for the second of the standard tactics, which is pushing their tanks into the city. That's the MX-5100 and the 3 T-69s, while sending the MX-1390 to go for the initial spot. Hyber was there first, though, and that means Kazna crew are probably pushing towards a village. Indeed, they are. So most of their tanks will be up in that village, which is kind of polarizes the map a little bit, because you've got one team in the village, one team in the city, which kind of makes it a little bit slower. It's all about getting the initial damage, getting the initial information, and it might come down to a cap race at the end of it.
Yeah, we'll have to find out if that does go down indeed. And as you mentioned, Kazna crew going for the more green approach, let's just say. Hyber and Paluda, the only 2 to really make it to that village as well. And they're just going to dominate from that 5-0 line. David getting a little bit aggressive. He's been spotted out and taken down quite quickly by Dark Dawn there. But still, I want to see where the movement comes from here, because there's the initial exchange. It's just both T1s eliminated. T69 of Dark Dawn got the first, and then obviously 505 and that 5100 took down Kruk. So a little bit of vision removed from both teams here.
Yeah, it's all about the information, it's all about the vision, and now both teams will have both of those. They will know exactly where the other team is. They'll know, in terms of Team WD, that Kazna crew is in the village, or at least thereabouts, and Kazna crew will know that Team WD is in that city. So we're going to expect some sort of push somewhere, I think, honestly. Team WD will take the bait, as it's a little bit easier to go for that cheesy push into the cap, but we would have already seen it at this point. It can either go for quickly, or you can go for slowly. But that T1 does get some extraordinary spot out there. He does spot Veko in the MX-5100. So Team WD finding out that Kazna crew is expecting a push in their cap. They know exactly what they're going to do. They know exactly what they aren't going to do at the end of the day. Team WD is not a stupid team. They're certainly not going to push into a position where they could possibly get sniped down by least of all tanks, the MX-5100, which is an incredible sniper with the SA-47, capable of doing a total of 1.8k with those 6 shells at 300 average damage. But Kazna crew quite happy to sit backwards. They're playing pretty much the standard tactic from the village, just going forwards, getting the information, going backwards, making sure that the other team isn't going for that cheesy push, sending the T1 out to find as much information as possible along the K0 line. That'll probably push in, try and find the T1 if it is in the cap from Team WD, and then start to look for that capping move, or maybe a pincer split push.
Yeah, and I can't wait to see that evolve. I'm looking forward to actually seeing what these teams go for, because as you said, it's pretty much everyone's aware of what the opponent's doing in essence. So it's all about that slight variation and the teams kind of doing their own thing. Obviously, you mentioned that Veko will be back there trying to keep eyes on the cap. Still Mojo in that T69 joining him up, just in case there was that city push towards that cheesy flag cap. 505, however, has been spotted out in the city now, so at least these guys are working out, but it seems though Kazna crew are falling back in more of a defensive posture. Only Paluda really being left forward by that village. Everyone else has kind of made their way back towards the A to D line. Do you think they're just trying to, kind of anticipate the push from Team WD if it was going to happen?
Yeah, it's exactly what they're doing. They just want to get everything covered. They want to make sure that there's nothing going to happen in terms of capping. They don't want to get caught out early on with all their tanks in the village and unable to get back in time. Obviously, that cap is about 30 seconds when you have 4 tanks in there. A couple of shots coming out from Nicholas Black and 505, trying to find the T1 that was spotting them. Obviously not finding that. Mr. Chef's also trying to get around on the side, maybe do some flanking. It's being pretty risky, because if Kazna crew was anywhere, they could easily catch him down. First shell is going to connect onto 505. He's down to 1.2k, so a nice 200 damage, probably from an MX-1390 onto him.
Yeah, and that indeed was Hyber there in that 1390. Just the only one who's pushed up aggressively, really, at the moment. Dark Dawn was that T69 who did make his way towards that city area, down along that Crescent Moon. But I'm curious to see what's going to happen here, because Duggars has now been spotted. Still Mojo and Veko are both looking down towards that section. He's going to have to back away, otherwise he'll be walking into the trap.
It's the last thing you want to be doing, to be honest, especially considering how much firepower Kazna has there. But I don't think that's really Team WD's end game. They're definitely not going to go for the cap. That'll be absolute suicide. I think one of the things they could do, it's one of the things on the option card, is just to push a few tanks up one flank and then have your one T1 and perhaps an AMX 3090 go for the cap. So Kazna split off from their defense, go towards the attacking tanks, and obviously get into a firefight. Get engaged there, perhaps tunnel vision a little bit. You put your two tanks, your T1, your MX 3090 in the cap. You get the cap underway. That's down to about 50 seconds with 2, and that'll get you the win. You don't have to win the firefight. You just have to win that cap battle.
Well, we'll see if they go for that one. Obviously, with 4 minutes and 50 seconds left, they're going to have to make their choices soon if they do want to take the advantage here. Bearing in mind, they're yet to win a game. So these kind of situations really do matter to these guys. They've got to dig deep to pull this one out, because Kazna certain right now. They've played against some very big teams. They may not have got the victories there, but they're still getting the results regardless. They're sitting around that mid-table at the moment, 7th position. So they're certainly proving their worth. And if Team WD could pick this up, that would mean the world to them. So I'm just looking to see who's going to break this one, really. Who's going to break the situation in half? Because right now, only Cobra Leone in that T1 is making any sort of real movement. He's going to be heading down to the city right now.
He's going to try and take out Bontaskirk and get the second T1. And that will definitely help Kazna just because they'll know that those two T1s can't be a pest and they can't cap, they can't get the information. But another shell exchange, Dark Dawn being the receiver, he's down to 1064 in that T69. So both teams taking pretty much equal damage at this point with 3 minutes and 53 seconds left on the clock.
Yeah, so let's see how the Kazna guys are doing at the moment. Let's just have a look in with Hyber now, as he was that furthest forward player. He was pushed up in that 1390, and he did try and get some kind of peeks out and try and get some spots going. Didn't really find much, but that more eliminates the fact that Team WD were not playing back by their own flag point. They are in that city area. Kazna now firmly know where they are, but can you do anything about it, or is this going to be a drawed map? 3 minutes and 23 seconds. Defensive posture going in from Kazna. You can see Dark Dawn now retracting back towards the rest of his squad. He did receive a shell there, so not a bad move. He's down to 1064. Bonto has been spotted, as is Merkizio, so Cobra Leone has actually been doing his job fairly well. And look at Veko pushing up as, in this sort of situation. Do you think Kazna might go for a bit of a move here, or do you think they're just trying to, kind of cover themselves off at the moment?
Well, they've already committed to a move, but they kind of got caught with their pants down by Bontas, who spotted out Veko in the 5100. So that'll give the game away very quickly, and you can see that Team WD has reacted to that very quickly with their two T69s just ready to shoot along this line and this line at the same time. So they pretty much sure that Kazna are going to push into the city. Although, Nicholas Black and Jaggers are in the wrong place to deal with it. They're a bit late to the party if it does come down to it, and they'll probably find that one T69 at least, if not two, will be taken down before they can actually get there.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, as you thought, Kazna are pushing in right now. They've made their way to that 3-line. They're fairly embedded into the city. Veko's now joined Paluda and still Mojo. 3 of them now going for the peek around the corner. They have spotted Duggars out, so he's received a lot of damage there. None actually replied back so far. He's down to 796. Now, he needs to think about his options right now, because it's not going to be the easiest way out of that one with 3 tanks looking at you. What are the options for Team WD here?
They just need to get back, and they need to win whatever firefight the Kazna guys decide to push onto them.
I just want to point out, if these guys got spotted right now, Hyber's in a great position to get some crossing shots, and he's doing just that. Perfect placement. He knew they'd be roping round. He's got 2 shells now connecting. He's taken Duggars fairly low. Merkizio's down as well. Dark Dawn has found that other tier 1, but I love the way Hyber's playing. He's holding them in place right now. He's connecting shell after shell. Duggars is down to 322. He needs to back away at this moment, but it has allowed Kazna now to push forward and hopefully look for more of a challenge.
Just a nice little distraction from the Hyber there, making sure all their turrets are turned, all their tanks are distracted. That allows them to push back across the streets along those easily shot lines, and that will force Team WD into a move perhaps they're not comfortable with, which does look like some sort of capping, or at least getting back to their base, a really defensive one. I think it's a bit of a game of cat and mouse. 1 minute and 3 seconds left. They know, Team WD know they're on the back foot. They know they can easily get taken down, considering that Doug is on 3-2-2, McKee's is on 8-5-9, and obviously 505 is also taking a shot.
Yeah, but look at this right now. Hyber has to be careful. He's being chased down by Mr. Chef, who's taken down to 204, but the main exchange will begin momentarily. Hyber now just trying to get away, play it safe. He's got full reload. He's down anyway. It doesn't matter. Mr. Chef has taken him out. 40 seconds left. They need to get this one back. Paluda looking towards Duggets. They knew he was low. 505 receives a shell. But at the moment, I feel as though Kazna are in trouble here.
Yeah, but you got the 2 AMX 3090s coming from the back. Will they get there in time? They got about 25 seconds to do so, and they'll have to unload. They're going to find Nicholas Black here.
Oh, here we go. This is what it comes down to. Nicholas Black now has 2 T69 staring him down. He's using the cover. 16 seconds. They've got to make this count. Still Mojo's going low. 862. Dark Dawn is getting shelled as well. He's down at 821. They need to get a kill here. They've taken them all so low. 5 seconds. There's the one they needed. Nicholas Black is down. And, well, this is incredible. 2 seconds left. Have Kazna crew done enough?
I don't think they have. I think it's pretty much a draw. I can just tally up the points.
Tally it up, because that was close. In the last second, they pulled back a kill there. And that really came down to the last moment. So I can't believe Kazna crew left it that late. They managed to damage up every single member of the other squad, but little did they actually get a kill there. It took so long for them to actually get anyone down. They couldn't focus their fire. And maybe that little bit of counterplay from Team WD actually paid off.
Yeah, it did, kind of, to be honest, and they did actually get the win. They're tallying up the points.
What? Who did they take down at the end?
Wait. My maths is bad. No. Yes. Yeah, they got one. No, it's one. Oh, yeah, it's just because my... Yeah, no, it's a draw. It's a draw. There's one AMX 3090 for one T69 and obviously two T1s apiece.
As well, yeah.
Yeah, so it's a draw on a Ruinberg here.
I've got to say it. The way Team WD played there, they had that little bit of a questionable move. They went down that crescent line to avoid, you know, the initial fire that kind of Hyber got down from the village. And it actually paid off because Kazna crew didn't expect it then.
Yeah, they didn't expect them just to push straight around and go for the defense. And they got really good defensive postures once they did. They had all their tanks covered, and they could deal with this 2 T69s from the back very quickly. And I honestly think the 2 T69s going around the back, it was just... If they'd done it like a minute earlier, it would have been fine.
Yeah.
But for that, they lost. They got Veko very low. They shouldn't have put Hyber on the limb. He should just run away. And I think if the 2 T69s just went with the AMX 5100, they would have just been able to push round, knowing that the Mr. Chef and his AMX 3090 is reloading, and just end up just taking out a couple of tanks. And if you really want to, you can send one around the back from the forward position. You don't have to send them all in around the city.
Well, Kazna crew not doing enough really that time around. They were kind of caught off. Great initial play, but at the end of it, Team WD kind of managed what was being thrown at them. So it's all even for the first map. Bit of a draw here at the moment, but the second map will be Prokhorovka. Now that's a bit of a different beast here. What sort of kind of gameplay do you think we can expect from these two, and who do you think's really got the advantage?
Well, I never really liked Kazna Crew's style on Prokhorovka. I think they can be a little bit timid.
Yep.
They've definitely improved it from Season 1, so I would consider them the favourite. But having said that, I think Team WD, if they're good at anything, they are very good at their scout tanks. They are the team that pioneered the 5 AMX 1390s on steps, and they use them very well, and they could really get the flanks on, and they're very good at split pushes. So I think Team WD definitely have a good advantage there, but just the general synergy of Kazna crew and just the way they all play together and the skill that comes out of these guys may just overpower that a little bit.
Well, we're going to find out right now. They're going in for the tank pick, so let's not miss a moment. So what do you think we're going to see here? Is this going to be a normal one? Because I think Kazna crew kind of got a little bit of a wake-up call. They can't take this too lightly because drawing out that first map has kind of slowed their pace a bit. They expected to pick that one up. They took the advantage, and now it's all even again. Do you think they'll play this one safe, or do you think we might see a little bit of a Pershing maybe or something else in the mixture?
I think they're going to play a little bit more aggressively, because if they had played more aggressively like a minute and a half, 2 minutes earlier, they would have won that one, in my opinion. So I think that's what they're going to be keeping in mind here. And the tank picks, just normal stuff at the moment. I think the 416 may come out, although I'm a little bit dubious about it. The double T1 is going to come from Kazna at the beginning, and the T1 AMX 3090 from Team WD. And the AMX 3090 and T69 from Kazna crew. So just the fast tanks and the really standard picks at the beginning. T1 AMX 3090 from Team WD, AMX 3090 T69 from Kazna crew. and then the double T69 from Team WD. So the fast AMX 3090 for that initial middle spot, and obviously it has some serious penetrative power as it can just speed down at the maximum the engine allows, which is 72 kilometers an hour. And just get around the tanks and do some superb damage. Obviously, got a very low profile, so it's got great camo value, which is very good on Prokhorovka, considering how many bushes there are, especially as these guys have full camo crew 100% all the way through. Last pick from Kazna will be the Pershing, as will it be for Team WD, making both teams have a double AMX 3090, a double T69, and a Pershing.
Yeah, so I'm liking the Pershing in play. It's always done quite well when we've watched it. I don't think we've seen a game where it hasn't found its place. So hopefully they can count down from 15 when they are ready. And we can get our eyes towards that second map, because I can't wait to see Prokhorovka. I think it might really show us the strength of Team WD if they can go off the back of doing so well to lock down the threat that was on Ruinberg. So guys, let's get you a video towards Prokhorovka.
Prokhorovka, a large map at 1,000 by 1,000 meters, which allows teams to stretch their legs and artillery to test their skills. There are 3 primary routes of attack: over the left tree road, the middle area, and towards the town. The tree road is very open and flat, but has a very large number of bushes and trees that provide good cover if you're not shooting. The middle area is where the initial engagements happen, as teams gather as much information as they possibly can. Both teams are fairly symmetrical and only offer small hills and bushes as cover. The middle area is where the initial engagement happen, as teams gather as much information as they possibly can. The railroad that splits the map has a large number of bushes running alongside it that provides good cover, and the occasional route of attack in the village and hill area. Teams should look towards taking fast tanks and artillery as they complement each other on this expansive map.
Alrighty guys, welcome into the second map. Currently is all even between these two. Kazna crew will be starting in the south in that golden yellow, facing off against Team WD in the north in blue, who just dealt with the threat of Kazna crew on that last map. So what are we seeing so far here?
So you can actually see how this map is played just on this. Like going up the middle of those AMX 3090s initially to get the early spots out, know exactly what the team's doing, if they go over towards the tree side, if they go over to the village, or if they're just doing what they are now, playing the middle part. And I think the middle section is always a bit of a risk, because sometimes you can just get an initial damage, as Douglas learns painfully. He's down to 1-2-5-5 from Hyber in his Pershing. They're also trying to reply with a kill, some damage onto Dark Dawn at least. But Kazna crew definitely have the advantage here. They have every single spot they need. They got Dark Dawn behind the rock there. They got Hyber and Veko down next to the rock on the left. They can also go to the rock you see just in front of you here. So Kazna crew with the initial damage and the initial advantage as well. But as we saw, that doesn't seem to make very much of a difference for Team WD. They can always come back from a bit of a kind of kicking at the beginning. Mr. Shep also receiving one, down to 8-8-0 in his AMX 3090, and he's pretty far back. So now Kazna crew know that Team WD may not be able to support all their tanks if they do end up pushing.
Yeah, so it's a little bit of a, not cat and mouse situation, I'd say, but Dark Dawn certainly has to be careful. Hyber is making his way over there to help him out just in case it is necessary. As you mentioned, it could be a little bit of a weak link if they did decide to fold towards it or focus it down. So you can see, as obviously on your screens right there, Hyber has now joined Dark Dawn. Pershing just coming up and providing that massive HP kind of firepower that obviously he has. So I can't wait to see that going into play.
Yeah, very good firepower indeed. But Kazna crew, they're just trying to find a way in. They're very good at that. Only 2 minutes into the game, and you already see Hyber trying to flank around. And I think one of their next moves up their sleeves will be to try and take down the T1, which they do. Surprisingly enough, they actually managed to spot that one out from a considerable amount of range, especially as that T1 does have a pretty good camo value, being a very small tank. But Team WD now spurred on to push. Makizio getting punished immediately with another shot from Steel Mojo in his T69. The gun depression of that tank is absolutely fantastic. So Kazna crew, they have firepower in front, they have firepower from the right. So Team WD completely boxed in. They can't go forwards, they can't go backwards. All they have to do is try and respond with some damage of their own, make sure they never lose that fight. But if they turn their turrets right, they get punished from the left.
Yeah, so it's a little bit of an impossible situation right now. You can see Douglas is bearing the brunt of that. He's down to 500 HP already. These T69s doing so well. Finally, they have spread out Bontot, who's just been keeping eyes on him in that T1. But all in the meantime, look at this. Hyber, Dark Dawn, perfect crossfire setup again. This is much better from Kazna crew, but they need to finish the job. As we saw before, great early damage, but that finishing blow just did not come out. Right now, Merkizio is down low. Douglas even lower, 242 on him. And they just have to be careful, Team WD. They barely made made a dent in the Kazna Crew side. Both T1 standing, only Dark Dawn gone low. There we have it. There's the big initial blow that was going to happen. Hyber has found Dugges. That's the Pershing coming into effect. And we're seeing it again right now. Hyber and Dark Dawn just watching that crossfire. Mr. Chef is having to make a bit of a move here, pushing up a little bit. See every single member keeping eyes on. Mr. Chef towards the village. Nicholas Black, now pretty much the only player in that initial position. Team WD are left in tatters.
They are pretty down and out, I would consider, at this point, having lost their Pershing initially. And I think that's just some slow reaction. They should have done what they're doing now, which is send Mr. Chef from behind, put the pressure from the side, as Kazna Crew were doing at range. But Hyber connecting another shell onto Nicholas back. He takes down the T69. And just slow reaction from Team WD in general. But Mr. Chef's also in trouble from Plowder.
Yeah, look at this. Plowder pushing straight forward. 2 shells left. He's got 1 more to land it, but he has to back away. 505's done enough of a job to knock him back, get him on the reload. And now you have to see if still Mojo and Dark Dawn can pick up the mantle. Mr. Chef, 141. Bonto, only 27 in that T1, but Merkezio's still up and standing. But Hyber still keeping those shells raining in. He is not allowing breathing room at all. Veko now has pushed up, and he's looking like he's going in for the kill here. Merkezio is the target. He's pushing right up there. 140 left onto him. Veko needs 1 more shell, and he's going to land it. Still Mojo in the meantime did take down Mr. Chef, but the only real kill coming back on him was a bit of a team kill. So there we have it. Kazna Crew looking strong there. This time around, not messing about. They're landing those shells, and they played that perfectly. Love the split off there with the Pershing. Took a bit of, you know, a risk, obviously, to help, but he did help out Dark Dawn there as he was a little bit alone, and that Pershing maneuvering around just smashed the crossfire, really. Those shells weren't stopping.
No, and it was really textbook Prokhorovka.
Yeah.
If you want to, you know, have a 101 how to play Prokhorovka, that's exactly how you should play it. Kazna Crew just getting in early positions, and I think even at that first minute and a half point, we could already say that Kazna Crew were going to win it because they had every single thing going for them. They had the tanks from the left behind the rock. They had the tanks in front. So if Team WD try to go for the tanks on the right, they get shot by the tanks on the left, and vice versa. And they didn't catch on to that fact quick enough. They should have. They had the 2 MX-39s, which just didn't seem to get into the fight. They could have come round and taken care of Veko playing the Pershing, and they could have come round from the left and just did what they did in the end, but it was too late, and try and get the shots into the T69. So generally, I would say Team WD just not quick enough to react.
Also, got to point out, Hyber, we said the shells were continuing. He got 2.8k damage in that Pershing, so doing beautifully for Kazna Crew. Really fulfilling the role of that Pershing on that map, making it seem like a real viable choice. But this time it's going to be Himmelsdorf. Now, is this a chance for Team WD, or is this another map that Kazna Crew are just going to dominate the pace on?
I think it's definitely more of a chance than Prokhorovka. They definitely have that.
Yeah.
City maps that are a bit easier to play in general because everyone seems to start playing a lot of tanks on heavy tanks, and they always like Himmelsdorf. They know exactly how to play it, and I think what's interesting about Himmelsdorf compared to many maps is just how similar it is to random battles. It's almost played exactly the same. Just obviously, if you have 15 tanks instead of 7, it's just more of what you get. More tanks pushing over the hill, more tanks pushing up the A-line. But the map is very structured. It's very logical. You do everything what you would expect to do. You have all the lines where you'd push normally. So I think that definitely goes in favor of Team WD. They can definitely do this one. If they're quick enough to react, they make sure they don't play short-sightedly like we've seen before from Mouse Sports, where they just didn't anticipate the T1s and whatever pushing into their cap and getting the cap done and end up winning the firefight but losing the cap race.
Yeah, indeed. And I think the best that kind of springs to my mind, the fact that Team WD did so well on Ruinberg initially that, well, no, they did averagely initially, but they're kind of dealing with the threat they did really well on. So I'm looking to see something like that, kind of adapting and dealing with whatever Kazna Crew can throw at them. So let's not waste any time. Let's get in towards Himmelsdorf. The tank picks have begun. What do you think we're going to see here?
So double T1 from Team WD. I don't think we'll see anything unusual. I mean, it's Himmelsdorf, and it's the least map. It's the least strange tank map, I guess. It's always standard. You'll see a variation of either the triple AMX 5100 or the double and the double IS3, or the triple IS3 double AMX 5100, depending on the team, depending on the players, depending on what tactic they want to utilize. We did see the T69 being used highly in Season 2 and Season 1, but since that penetration nerf has come into effect. It's almost too unreliable. You can bounce all sorts of strange shots, and it's definitely not good against the IS-3. So double T1 from both teams, double AMX5100 from both teams as well, and that's what we'd expect. And I think the more likely picks will be the triple IS-3. That's the more standard one. I think generally players feel a little bit more comfortable in the IS-3. I certainly do. I hate to get caught out with the AMX5100 on reload when you're sitting there for 48 seconds without able to do any damage, and you watch your team just getting blown away.
It's a very long 48 seconds.
It's unbelievably long 48 seconds. It's painful. And obviously the IS-3 has about 11 seconds reload, and it does do a tasty 390 damage with the 122mm BL9. So it's certainly not a wimp when it comes to firefights. It can take the damage, it can deal the damage. And obviously, this being a city map, alpha damage is the name of the game, because the one shot you do and you may have, you want to do as much damage as you possibly can. Double IS-3 from Team WD would be the next pick. Obviously, those last two picks will give us the final lineup, if it will be a triple AMX5100 or a triple IS-3. But so far, just the same from both teams. Double IS-3 also coming out from Kazna crew. It's the standard stuff so far. It's what we'd expect. It's the great Himmelsdorf lineup. Obviously, the T32 is the most popular tank before. Now it's not so popular, as the IS-3 does all of its jobs and better. Last pick from Team WD will make it the triple AMX5100, and it will be the same for Kazna crew. So triple AMX5100, double IS-3, double T1.
So, currently, overall, it is one in favour to Kazna crew, as we saw on their last map, which was Prokhorovka. Obviously, on those open maps, the kind of greener maps, they showed their strength, they showed their strategies, and it worked. It paid off beautifully. But you look back towards Ruinberg, the first map, which obviously was a draw there. It was no clear victory. The initial game was very slow. It was a very slow starting game. It was very tactical. Both teams not wanting to challenge initially. And, well, they avoided each other to a point. Kazna crew made the first move. They pushed into that city. They held the rotate really well. They landed the shells high, but they're not missing a single one. But that final execution, that one last push that they needed to have, was a little bit late to the party. And I'm hoping we don't see that here, because it's all about kind of commitment. Once you start that push going, you've got to be able to hammer it through, because we see a lot of teams, starting the push, and then it kind of just dissolve into nothing, and it just kind of falls away, and you see a lot of teams losing because of that, and some of the better teams winning because they always have that backup plan, they always have that fallback plan that they can go to. We saw it with WoT Pro, we've seen it with Dignitas especially. Dignitas, always having that backup plan, whether it be a T1, just makes way to the cap point, even if they're losing the exchanges early on. And I want to see this coming into effect. I want to see Kazna crew really starting to build up to, I know, the standard they can play to, especially this point in the season. They need to start really kind of racking it up. They're sitting mid-table, which it's not bad, but Kazna crew are a good team, and this is where they need to prove it. Team WD, however, really need these wins. And the way they're playing so far isn't bad. I think excluding Prokhorovka, which was a bit of a stomp, they showed some real class on Ruinberg, so I want to see something like that here, maybe taking the initiative. So guys, let's get ready for Himmelsdorf.
Himmelsdorf is a city maps of city maps. It's a small one, being 600 by 600 meters. There are 3 routes of attack: the hill, the banana, and the train side. The middle area is relatively easy to push, however can end up in disaster, as you can be flanked from every side. The road, often called banana, allows for direct head-on assaults but requires a lot of resources. Both the railroad area and the road next to it are good routes of attack, being very open and straight. However, for those very same reasons, you can be easily caught out and taken down. The map features many densely housed areas, which provides good places for engagements and routes of attack. Teams must be aware of the various routes their opponents can take through the map, as well as the hull-down positions enemies can take throughout the entire map. The trick with Himmelsdorf is to catch an enemy tank unsupported by his teammates and then use that advantage to collapse on the entire enemy team.
So, welcome to the infamous Himmelsdorf. We will be seeing in the north, in the gold and yellow, Kazna crew facing off against the south, which is Team WD, who currently are struggling in this one. They are one map down, but they could turn it and bring it back all even here What are we seeing so far?
So Team WD going for that hill push straight away with the double AMX 5100 and the T1. Mr. Chef in support. Darges and Nicholas Black playing those two RS3s up the Banana Road, and David pushing heavily up the 1-2 line in his T1. Kazna crew pretty much playing the standard tactic from the north as well, just covering all flanks, making sure all bases are kind of defended, all T's are crossed, all I's are dotted, and sending the T1 up the hill, trying to get the spots out in case Team WD is going up there, which they are. So that's good information for them. If they do that, that'll give them the opportunity to do what I expect them to do, which is push the 1-2-3 line with IS3s in the front and the MX-51s from behind.
Yeah, so I can't wait to see what Kazna crew have in store here. See if they can deal with maybe what Team WD are bringing, because as you mentioned, Team WD going for that hill push, trying to get their presence up there. They have got, at least the T1 there, but they've actually played in a defensive posture now they've got to the foot of the hill. Do you think they're going to continue up, or are they just allowing that T1 to scout out to make sure it's safe?
It's just there just to do the scouting. It's going to find Bontoskirk, so they'll know at least one T1 up there, and they probably have a good idea that there's probably more than just a T1. There's probably an AMX 5100 there as well, because Bontoskirk can go along and down, or he can just stay up there. And there's not really any reason why he would stay towards the left side instead of going around, unless he has got tanks behind who would try and do the damage if it does come down to it. So Cobrion playing it very well, trying to get some spots out, trying to find the AMX 5100 as he can, but he's only going to get Bontoskirk. So this probably will be the first exchange, and obviously Cobrion will probably be the worse off, as those 5100s will just be able to come through and obliterate him. But they're going to try and find themselves on the hill, actually, try and get the shots off the 1-2, the D line, I guess. And obviously, if they get the 50-meter proxy rule, which I don't think they will, they'll be happy. But Snil Mojo is going to be spotted out. Obviously, there are a few spots on the tanks where you do the spotting. The commander's cockpit is one, and another one's on the front of the hull. So unless those have got line of sight on another tank, then you're not going to spot it.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, Still Mojo has been spotted, but he's playing quite passively. No one actually challenged on that hill early on. He's playing the IS-3 on Banana. That's standard. But we are seeing the likes of Crux playing very passively in this 5100 right at the foot of the hill, not going up there, leaving only that T1, Cobra Leone, as you mentioned, being the only one there. Everyone else is mostly split from the 1 to 5 line. You've got Dark Dawn just sitting on the flag. You've got Hyber and Veko literally keeping eyes right down the train track. So it's a little bit of a slow starter. Kazna crew actually being defensive.
Yeah, they're happy to play defensive. It's early days for Himmelsdorf. It's not the quickest of maps, but you can kind of see the layout of these two teams right now. You've got the two T1s to the left getting the spots out, continuing on each other. You've got the T1 up the hill, and now you can see Team WD starting to rotate off that hill. Obviously, now they haven't found any tanks out. They haven't stopped any push or got any damage. They're going to come around onto the 1-2-3 line, which is the favored position to attack from the south. Although I really do like the banana push. I remember a while back, one of the favorite tactics for the south of Himmelsdorf was just to push all your tanks up banana and just win that firefight. But obviously, since the map has changed, you've got more cover from the north, and you can certainly do the damage to any tank that does decide to do that foolish move.
Yeah, I'm waiting to see if Nicholas Black outstays his welcome soon enough in that IS-3. Still Mojo keeping real eyes onto him as much as possible. But yeah, no tanks being lost yet either. That's the important thing for me. No one really receiving any damage either. Completely full health, bar Paluda in that T1 just down by that 3 line. So excluding him, everyone's sitting pretty, waiting for that mistake to be made. And it's a very slow start. Normally, one of these teams will be heading, or at least kind of beginning their attack, and waiting to see who's going to take the advantage. I was about to leave Still Mojo, but he keeps catching glimpses of Nicholas Black. But no one dares make that shell, and no one wants to really make the initial mistake here, because obviously there's so much on the line if you do start showing weakness. Yeah,
show weakness and you get punished. That's this level of play. And at the end of the day, it's a game about mistakes. Obviously, the team that makes the most mistakes will end up losing. That's a given. But the thing is, Kazna crew, they don't make any mistakes. I mean, they make very small mistakes, and sometimes it's not even a mistake. It's just a decision, and that decision ends up being not wrong, but the other team reads it better and manages to get into a better position, or just catches the other team on the rotate. So if you're driving along a road trying to get to another position, the other team finds you on the side. What can you do about it? But Doug is now playing very aggressively, pushing forwards on his own in his IS3. He's not really that much support on him. He's got Nicholas back to the right, but he hasn't got a line of sight. Mr. Chef is slowly starting to get into position, but the rest of the tanks, apart from those two, completely unsupported. But that doesn't really matter, as they can kind of have a good idea that Kazna crew are definitely not in position. He's going to try and connect to shell onto Still Mojo. He is unspotted at this point, so I think he'll probably make it.
Yeah, indeed. Still Mojo completely unaware of it. The T1 was found of David, but that is minimal compared to what might be brewing if Still Mojo gets caught out. And oh, he just missed, but Still Mojo won't. Douglas receives a shell. He's down to 1050, and that was not how he wanted the exchange to go down.
Definitely not. Very unlucky for Douglas, but Still Mojo playing the IS3 perfectly. He wasn't caught out at all. He knew exactly what could happen. He knows exactly the routes of attack, and all he had to do was just rotate his turret about 5 degrees to the right and connect that shell. The T1 spots are going out as well on the top, but we can see Team WD definitely taking initiative here. Douglas has pushed forward already. Nicholas Black now supporting him just behind him. We got the MX-51s to the right or to the left, depending on the point of view, also just biting at the bit to push forwards. The only one who hasn't really done anything is Mr. Chef playing his 5100, but he's pretty quick, and especially considering this is concrete. The power to rate ratio on the MX-5100 isn't great, but on concrete doesn't really matter that much. Douglas and Nicholas Black now pushing along to the middle. Obviously, they'll be greeted by Dark Dawn in his IS3 there. He's going to connect the shell because that's his job, to connect the shell against pushing tanks in the middle. I'm not exactly sure why Douglas is pushing forwards first, because he will probably get the shell. Another one for no reason. They should have put Nicholas back first, and that would have evened up the damage a little bit. Yeah,
maybe a little bit of miscommunication there. As you mentioned, poor choices being made, and they can really cost you. And right now you are seeing the kind of chain reaction. As soon as they saw those tanks pushing across that 5 line, Still Mojo and Crux are pushing in place, but they did not expect a defensive Mr. Chef. He slowed down this counter play that was going to rope around the back of those 2 tanks who are causing that little bit of pressure, the likes of Douglas. So right now we're seeing Still Mojo and Crux battling out on the banana line. Crux is actually split off. He's going to go try and head straight towards those 2 tanks who were caught up by Dark Dawn earlier on. He knows where they are. He knows Mercuzio's around there, but he's just not going to be going straight for the challenge. He's hoping that Dark Dawn can keep eyes on it. If I can spin across to him, there we go. So 505 to the right. Oh, he's being caught out again. He can't even see these guys. He does not know where these shells are coming from. He's going to have to play it a little bit more carefully, side scrape away, and hope that Douglas and Nicholas Black don't do much more damage. But a little bit of counterplay coming from Team WD here. Mr. Chef challenging Crux. Crux down to 498, 169. Mr. Chef could do this. Crux is going crazy aggressive, and now Crux is tracked. He's held in place. He's got 2 tanks just steps away. There's the landing blow. That's Douglas claiming that one, I do believe. But right now we are actually seeing this situation turning in favor to Team WD.
Hyber replying with a shell onto Douglas, but look at this, Mercuzio versus Still Mojo. Still Mojo is at a disadvantage.
He is indeed. 523, 277. He's only just landed the shell, immediately annihilated there. He has no chance to stand at all. And right now, Kazna crew need to kind of bring themselves back together. They've got one smart play right now. The fact that Cobra Leone is in the cap point. Hopefully that will cause enough of a chain reaction to slow them down, but look at Dark Dawn, 11 HP. He is so damn screwed. Mr. Chef going back straight away. He's going to be trying to take down Cobra Leone. He'll probably do it, but here comes the counter fire. Here comes the help. Finally, Veko takes down Nicholas Black. Dark Dawn has some pressure alleviated, but 505, Mr. Chef and Mercuzio still laying down the fire. Hyber needs to be safe. He needs to play careful. They are not sitting pretty. Only Veko has decent HP right now.
Yeah, but look at Mercuzio. He's not happy to push forward, even though he's got 1,048 HP. He's scared of Veko, he's scared of Dark Dawn. Both can do a significant amount of damage. I think he might have actually blown his repair kit, but Mr. Chef's going crazy.
Mr. Chef's just going straight in. He's claimed one, but look at this. Just being melted down just straight away. Veko just wipes his face off the entire earth. And now look at this. 505 does find a way to get around to the back of Veko's stunning connection, setting him on fire just a touch. 67 HP left towards him. The HP is firmly in favor to the Team WD, who currently need this win so damn badly. Hyber next in trouble, 9 HP. He's got 1 shell towards Mercuzio. He has a slither of health left. It's been taken away. Mercuzio doing that killing blow. And now just Veko standing as the damage dealing role up against 2 players. He's on the reload. He has so little time here. The clock's slowly building up. You said it's one of the longest kind of times of your life, and I've got to say it, that clock ran down, but Kazna crew just did nothing then.
No, they didn't do anything, but they're lucky to get with a draw with that one. They're so lucky. It's 7,
My God.
only 7, well, 7 points separating these two. If you have 8 points, you get the win. So that was a complete...
One T1 staying alive then was the vital point.
I'm not even sure if Kazna Crew deserved that one because they got completely outplayed then. Team WD took all the initiative. They did all the damage. And I think the only mistake I really saw them do was Mikizio just played so defensively, so scared. All he had to do was connect that one shell onto I'm not sure who it was. I think it was one of the IS3s. And that would have been Dark Dawn it was actually. He was on 11 HP. Mikizio, 300 average damage. He's got 265 penetration. Just that one shell would have been enough, and that would have allowed Mikizio to come around the back. But again, I think Mr. Chef playing the 5100, he just went crazy. He just ran in. He got completely melted by all the tanks, 2 MX-5100s, 1 IS-3. And that was just awful. That was just not good play.
It was a little bit sloppy there from them. I've got to say it, because they could have had that one. That could have been their game to win. They certainly took the initiative. They took the damage. They did so well to kind of get to that point. But Kazna Crew just didn't have a reply, though. No,
they had no reply to it. And I think one of the things about Himmelsdorf is if you do take the initiative, you definitely end up winning most of the time. And another thing is if you lose 1T1 like they did, that kind of negates the ability to cap because it's 1 minute and 50 seconds with one tank. So it's so easy to get back. You end up winning the firefight. You send an MX-200 back. He just takes it out, gets himself back into the firefight, and that's the end of the story. But we can move on to our next match, which will be Mines. I honestly don't know which team this really favors.
No, and right now Kazna Crew is not on form. They're winning because of Prokhorovka, but their overall play on city maps has been pretty damn poor. In the nicest way to put it, they haven't been executing well. They haven't been landing the shells they normally do, and it's been a little bit of a Team WD show. Sadly, they haven't been able to quite confirm the victories. That's the only problem. And as you mentioned, one tier 1 could have pretty much cost them that game if it fell. And I think it was left on like 9 HP or something. It was so minute, and that was the kind of defining factor, which is a real shame for Team WD because I feel as though they deserved that one. But anyway, let's hope they can do it on Mines if they do want to bring it back all even here. So let's get ready for those tank picks. Hopefully they do start nice and quickly. Obviously, Mines will be that next map. And I'm not sure about who's going to be the better one here because, as you said, it's a little bit even. And the way Kazna Crew are playing, I don't want to favor them right now. Even though they are a map up, they're certainly not showing, the class that they have. They're against a team who's not picked up one game yet. So, in theory, Kazna Crew should be stomping them. But they're really not. No,
they're struggling. And they're going to struggle on Mines as well a little bit because it's not a map which plays like Prokhorovka or Steps, which they, obviously Prokhorovka, they won. It does play a little bit like city maps, as in there's very clear, defined routes of attack. You've got the middle, you've got the right, and you've got the left with the island. So that's going to favour Team WD, and I think obviously Kazna Crew have some advantages in terms of they can really connect their shells when they count. Although Himmelsdorf, they didn't do that either, so it's a really questionable play from them. But we have started tank picks with the double T1 from Kazna Crew, so we're expecting probably in the regions of 3 T69s, Pershing, and an MX-1390 or somewhere thereabouts. It really just depends on what these teams want to do. Obviously, the MX-1390 is by far the fastest tank and almost guarantees you the hill if you take more than the other team, although it does have a 38 to 33 seconds reload. So it might not get it might get up the hill, but it won't have the damage, it won't have the reload, so it can't really do much up there at the beginning. T69 MX-1390 from Kazna Crew at the beginning. That'll start the big tank picks. And the 416, I think, won't come out. The MX-5100 from the south is still a good pick because you can put it back in the base and just use it as a sniper. Obviously, if you're playing for the south, if you go to the right of the base, you can get the connecting shells onto the village. If you go to the left of the base, you can connect the shells onto the hill. And if you go further to the left, you can go to the island and connect the shells there. So that's the good thing about the 5100. You don't have to be particularly fast, and you can do all the damage you want. Just waiting on Team WD's next pick. Probably going to be an MX-1390 and T69 as well. Or they might just go for the Pershing straight off the bat. Just depends if they want to try something unusual. But they are not. They're going to go for the MX-1390 and the T69. So both teams mirroring up here, as we would expect on Mines. It's obviously a map that revolves around the hill. And if you're doing anything around a hill, you want gun depression, which the T69 offers you. The Pershing, probably about the same as well. But your IS-3s doesn't have the gun depression. The 5100 certainly doesn't, nor does the MX-1390. Although The 3090 has better gun depression than the 416. But T69 times 2 coming out from Kazna crew. AMX 3090 T69 from Team WD, making it a triple T69 AMX 3090 for Kazna crew, an AMX 3090 times 2, and a T69 times 2 for Team WD. So the only difference being Team WD has 1 extra AMX 3090 and Kazna crew has 1 extra T69. Last pick's probably going to come out any second from Kazna crew, expecting a Pershing.
I hope to see the Pershing. I hope we don't see what we saw before on this map, where there's a random kind of island push. There's a lot of things I hope for.
T32, I'm not too happy about that on this map either.
I don't like T32s. I don't want to see it. I just feel it's completely too bulky, you know what I mean? It doesn't have its position. It's not maneuverable. It's just kind of, if it doesn't do that initial awesome kind of start, it's just like, well, I'm just, you know, it's basically like having a ship crater just kind of placed on the map. Like, well, I'm just here then, I guess.
Yeah,
so,
I mean, like, it's a perfect analogy. I mean, a ship crater is good at carrying stuff, but pretty much useless at everything else. So if you don't get it to carry stuff, it's useless.
Indeed.
Where the MX 3090 can carry stuff, it can shoot, you know, you can unload your shopping. It's good at everything.
Big fan of anyone unloading shopping for me. That's always good.
Well, MX 3090 is going to be the last pick from Kazna crew. T69 is going to be the last pick from Team WD, making for Kazna crew a double MX 3090, a triple T69 double T1, and for Team WD, a double MX 3090, triple T69 double T1. So, mirrored lineup.
So, let's bear in mind, 2 of these maps have been drawn. Only 1 has been won so far by Kazna crew. This could bring back all even. Let's get ready for Mines.
Mines, the original and best World of Tanks 7-on-7 map famed for its incredible tactical opportunities. A small map being 800 by 800 meters. The map has 3 primary routes of attack: the left flank through the water, the middle area, and the town side. The key position on this map is the middle area, as it provides great firing positions and areas of attack for the team that holds it. The middle area's primary entrance is the road passing through the middle of the map. It is essential that the teams take key areas around the hill, both of which are situated just below the hill, the north side and the south side. These locations can provide for some amusing tactics. The hill isn't the only means of attack on Mines though. There's also a housing area towards the east side that has a fair few routes of attack and provides great cover for advancing tanks. The water area can be an option for teams, however the soft ground makes it very hard for tanks to traverse rapidly, but leads straight to the opponent's base.
So, welcome into the 4th map here. Will be Mines, as Joe currently said. And let's see what we have here. Obviously, Kazna crew in the gold and yellow, and in the blue is Team WD.
So we're seeing Team WD go over towards that mountainside, or the island side, and you're not happy about that, I'm pretty sure. Still Mojo and Dark Dawn looking towards the middle, although Nicholas Black will get punished straight away in his AMX 3090 down to 882. So 505 is got to be careful, as does Nicholas Black, but generally Team WD, they've tried something risky and it could pay off, but it's unlikely. I've never really seen the island side as a really viable tactic for quite a while. It can be very iffy, because if you have the hill, you can snipe the island, and if you really want to get off the hill, you can, since physics has been implemented in 8.0. Douglas will also take one. He's down to 876, and that's probably going to be from tanks sitting up into the base, and this might force Team WD to push.
Yeah, indeed. But the one thing I like is the fact that Veko kind of countered this early on. But look at this. Doggett goes for a peek. He tries to challenge Baluda, but he's just been smashed to the ground. And that is Veko landing that killing blow. And you're seeing why people don't really go for the island at the moment. It's just so much in favor to the guys on the hill. Merkizio trying to get back up here, but now they're there. They're pretty much pinned in place.
Yeah, they're pinned there. But, you know, the thing about Douglas' move then was, you don't overstay your welcome. If you can get a cheeky shot in there, try and get the cheeky shot. But don't continue trying to get the cheeky shot, because it's not cheeky anymore, it's rude. So just shoot and get back again. Don't try and shoot more, because you'll be spotted and your tanks, the other team tanks, are going to get their turrets around onto you and they're going to connect the shell. So get the one shot off and retreat. If you don't get it off, big deal. You're still alive, and Douglas does end up learning that lesson quite a lot, being taken back to school by Kazna crew at the moment. But the Kazna crew now completely in the driving seat, and they can pretty much do whatever they want on this map. They know exactly what Team WD is doing. They know exactly where they are. You can see You can see where they are. You can see that Team WD is over towards the island with the AMX 3090. They've got a tank in the back, T1 there, and they've got one defending the middle. So the one defending the middle is the obvious weak spot. Those two won't be able to support them. They'll be able to just push out, take him down. Don't worry about the guys on the island. Just keep one tank in the base to stop any pushes. They're being safe. They're being careful. And they've put 2 tanks in their base. So generally, completely in the side of Kazakru's favor. All they need to do now is get the relevant information, not do anything completely stupid, and then just build off that.
Well, let's see if they can not do anything completely stupid. Kazakru have their moments, let's be serious here. But I've got to say, Hyber's doing brilliantly. Every single time there's a peak coming out from Merkizio, he's just been taking HP away. And right now, he doesn't want to outstay his welcome. Obviously, going to back away on 824 HP. But smart play so far from Kazna. They're not going stupidly aggressive, even though they had the advantage, or at least they do still have the advantage, in that they've received 2 shells in the meantime. So Veko down to 901, Hyber down to 824. But these guys are on the reload right now, so they're not rushing anything. They know where the opponent is, and they're keeping eyes on, which is just a smart play, safe play. And they do need this one to at least get the chance to win this. Otherwise, I believe it could still be brought back all even or finish in a 2-1. So this could confirm their victory now, rather than giving Team WD the chance to get back in.
Exactly. You know, since Season 3, we've had new rules where all you have to do is get 1 map advantage to take the win. It's not best of 3 anymore. You play all 5 maps, you get the 1 map advantage, you win. So it doesn't have to be 3-0 or whatever, like it used to be, or 3-2 or 3-1 or whatever. Well, 3-0 I guess is the only possibility. So Kazakru in the driving seat completely. They have 1 map. It was Prokhorovka. Team WD have 0, having drawed Himmelsdorf and Ruinberg. Very close games for them. I feel a bit ashamed for them because they are. They did do well on Ruinberg. They did do well on Himmelsdorf, and they are capable of taking the win. They just couldn't quite go to that next step, and the rules kind of bending in Kazakru's favor a little bit. But that's just what happens, and it's fair across the board for all teams. More damage being connected. 505 down to 462. He's also trying to do a couple of blind shots if he can. Not connecting anything, and still Mojo's pushed up pretty far, and that's indicative of what Kazakru want to do. They want to push off the hill, and they want to push from this line here. They got 1 tank in the back. I believe that's an AMX 3090. He's just going to push in, take down Merkizio, make sure that the T1s are not in front, ready to spot out. Use their T1 to take out those 2 T1s. Just play it safe.
Well, we'll see if that kind of unfolds, and you're pretty much spot on there. Veko was creating that crossfire, taking 505 and Merkizio fairly low. We are seeing those T1s getting that little bit of an exchange going. Crux coming out firmly on top of that one. He's still seeing very much full HP, 115. And there we go. There's Paluda just taking down David. And this is just slowly but surely working away at the opponent. Team WD have very little to work with. Duggets was lost early on. Now David, they have 5 players to make a difference here, up against pretty much a full Kazna crew. Still Mojo has to still be careful. 505 can land shells, and he's doing just that. Still Mojo is now on the reload, so gonna try and back away a touch, or just dance with him and try and make sure he's comfortable. But look at Paluda, great positioning now, and they're just engulfing this map at the moment.
Yeah, well, Kazakru must have beef because they're taking Team WD to the slaughterhouse. Another shell coming out, taking down 505. Now he was going to get taken down either way. It was just a matter of time. Now Kazakru tier 8 tanks to the good, having lost not that much damage, only 1 shell to each tank. We got Veko down to 901, Hyber down to 802, but I think Hyber's going to push onto Merkizio. Yeah,
Merkizio's in trouble. He's got Hyber, he's got Still Mojo, he's got all eyes on him, and well, they've been taken away. Still Mojo will land that final blow in that T69, taking him down. And now there's no reply code in just yet. At the moment, the 3090s are battling out right back there. Veko does land the shell there, does take him out. It was actually Dark Dawn, I think, got the final one. But still, Veko will walk away, or roll away, should I say, on 370 HP, get the reload on the go, and there we have it. It does seem as though the Tier 1 battle will eventually be won by Bontot, but still, Mr. Chef and Bonto standing against the entirety almost of Kazna crew. Now just 1 man stands for Team WD, and it's looking like Kazna crew have this one in the bag quite firmly. Dark Dawn will be pushing in. He's on 617. Mr. Chef is landing the shells. Dark Dawn has to be careful. He doesn't want to just die hap-handedly. Let's spin over to Mr. Chef and see how he's going to be dealing with this. Trying to keep eyes directly towards Dark Dawn, escaping down the cliff. But Veko's there, but it's still Mojo to connect the final blow, and Kazna crew have the win. So Kazna crew looking extremely good in that one, but I think it was more a tactical error from Team WD, let's just say.
Just one little mistake, one foot out of place, immediately punished. There was almost no chance for Team WD to get back into that one. One Duges did get taken out in his AMX 3090. And again, you know, overstaying is welcome by one shot. Probably about 3 or 4 seconds. Only
That was it.
Yeah.
So
1.1k HP on the AMX 3090. That is probably about 4 shots from 3 or 4 shots, depending on the kind of damage roll from your T69s, your AMX 3090s, and you're out of there. So impossible situation for Team WD to dig themselves out of, although they could have done, but it would have had to been a big mistake on Kazna Crew's part. Like, they sacrificed one of their own tier 8s.
A bit crazy, like a rune style thing of just throwing yourself off cliffs, possibly. But right there and then, it's pretty much now in the hands of Kazna Crew. They won 2 maps. The others were drawn, so those almost get negated. So they're zeroed out, let's just call it for now. So the 2 maps that were won, obviously, were Kazna's, so they are now 2-0. Now there's a final map, so it could end 2-1 if Team WD get this one behind them, but still, overall, it's Kazna Crew's game. So let's see, for a bit of pride's sake, if Team WD can do anything, because so far they've looked like a shadow of the team that they can be like. And I don't know what's going wrong with them, because they get, occasional great starts. They've done well on both of the city maps, but they just didn't quite do well enough. And I feel as though that could be the factor of what's holding them back throughout this whole season, that final bit of talent that normally comes in and just mops up the remains. The likes of New Multishow does it. All these top-tier players can just come in when they need it. Bam, there's all the kills that are just rudimental to what they want to be doing. But the last map will be Steps, so I'm not sure how this one's going to fare for Team WD. On open maps, it's been pretty much a one-sided affair. It's been Kazna Crew all the way, so Prokhorovka was the initial win for them. So what do you think we're going to see here?
I would say Team WD have a decent chance on Steps. I think it's a map they've trained a lot, and they're definitely good at it. But Kazna Crew have just been one step ahead every single time. They've just been +1 to everything that Team WD's done in terms of execution, strategy, player skill, pretty much everything. I mean, only map which they really came out worse off was on Himmelsdorf. But again, as you said, Team WD just couldn't go the extra step. They couldn't mop up. They couldn't finish the game off. And Kazna Crew really showing class that even once they're down, they're definitely not out. But T1s from both teams to start off, tank picking, double AMX 3090 from Team WD. Remember, this is the team that picks sometimes 5 AMX 3090s on Steps, although that's kind of been phased out a little bit. Haven't seen it so much since Season 2 at the beginning. Double AMX 3090 from Kazna Crew as well. We could see a T32 on this map. I'm not a massive fan of it. I haven't really seen it work that much. It certainly does get outclassed a lot, but we'll almost certainly see a Pershing, and the first team to pick that will be the Team WD, and they're going to pick a T69 as well with it. So for them, a double AMX 3090, a T69, and a Pershing, and just for Kazna Crew, we'll also pick the T69 and the Pershing. So mirrored lineup so far. That one Pershing being picked in the middle of the tank picks does indicate that the second one will be picked at the end, so it's probably going to be a double Pershing for both teams. It's the preferred lineup and Steps. I'm surprised we didn't see it on Mines, since Oda Mortis did use it there, and it seemed to have done so well against Kazna Crew. Last pick from Team WD, although, will be the French Tier 8 light tank, the MX 3090. So they're not going to go for the double Pershing. A little bit strange why they didn't pick that alongside the T69 and not giving the game away a little bit. But then again, the Pershing is becoming a mainstay tank on many maps, being such a good tank. I'm just a little surprised that I didn't see it a little bit early on, but that could be because the T69 was nerfed a little bit. T32 will be the last pick from Kazna Crew, making it a T32 Pershing, T69, double MX 3090, double T1. So yeah, I'm not a massive fan of the T32. I think it's a tank where you have to nail your strategy 100% to actually make it work. But if you can do that and you've got the team behind you, it definitely has the potential. I mean, so much armor, so much HP. And as that goes into the late game, it certainly becomes an almost impossible Goliath task to take it down.
Well, we'll have to see if it comes into play and actually pays off. I'm still not sold on the T32, similar to you, as it does feel as though it's almost part of the cheesy strat. If they have one strategy that they feel will work, it may include it. So let's find out here on the 5th and final map, which will be Steps.
Steps is the other open map in the map pool, being 1000 by 1000, having no urban areas. There are 3 primary routes of attack: the trench, the rocky area to the left, and the middle road. The road offers direct routes to the enemy's base, but despite having a staggering amount of cover along the way, you are vulnerable to attack from all sides. The trench area provides for great engagements as it's only a few hills and rocks to cover the teams. Most of the engagements occur around this rock, the winner of which gains a crucial foothold on the map. The rocky left area provides the most cover for attacking and defending teams. It's essential that you pick tanks that can traverse from one side of the map to the other rapidly. They also must be able to get to the various key locations as quickly as possible. That is the key to victory.
So, welcome into the 5th and final map here between Team WD and Kazna Crew. Currently, Kazna Crew 2 maps to the good, so they've got this one in the bag, but for pride's sake, can Team WD get 1 map under their belt? Team WD will be in the north in the blue, Kazna Crew in the south in the yellow. So what are we seeing so far?
So with Team WD's triple MX-3090 lineup, they're obviously going to go for the fast push over towards the trench, which is exactly what they've done, and they've got the 269s in the background. Hyber will be punished immediately. He's taken 1 down to 1197 in his Pershing even. So not such a bad exchange, I guess, for Team WD, but if Kazna Crew did want to get any damage, it would be on that Pershing since it has a higher HP pool than pretty much every other tank apart from their T32, which has 110 more. So Kazna Crew playing it standard, I guess. It's the 40%. Which is pushing over towards the trench. The 60% pushing over towards the left rock side is the standard tactics in terms of which side the teams go on. Hyber trying to connect to shell onto 505, bouncing it, but it looks like Team WD are going to push in. They got the Pershing, got the MX-3090 ×2, so they got a lot of damage and they got a lot of HP.
Well, Nicholas Black is being the anchor of this as well, not allowing Dark Dawn, Hyber and Veko to push over the mantle of that hill. And now Team WD do make their way through. Dark Dawn gets taken low. Hyber as well, he's down to 952. Veko down to the 500s. He's trying to focus them out. Finally, a shell will land towards Duggez, but it may be too little too late unless they get this really rolling here. Dark Dawn getting some damage done towards Duggez again. Mokizio backing away, but Veko now has 2 eyes towards him. Mr. Chef dancing with him here. But you're seeing that Hyber's going extremely low. Dark Dawn now being down to the hundreds. First of all is Hyber. Dark Dawn down to 108. Veko gets 1 back onto 505. But look at this. They're falling like flies. Veko needs to get the damage dealt, but it's too little too late. Mr. Chef and 505 taking the advantage there and bring in the scoreline, what could be in favor Team WD here.
Very good start from the side of Team WD. Why didn't they do this earlier? They're also going to try and connect some shells onto Pilau. He's in trouble.
Yep, 600 HP left towards him, but he lands a sensational shot to Nicholas Black. Takes him out with 1 shell almost. That T32 coming into effect. And now still Mojo and Paluda have to deal with so much of a threat posed by Team WD. Merkizio, Duggez pushing back. Paluda is not done. Crux is taking down the other tier 1. They're still fighting here. Kazna Crew are not going down without a fight. Duggez rears his head above the defilade of the hill. Merkizio dance back across the skyline, but Mr. Chef could be the one to cause the trouble, and he is. He's got 1 shell coming in. He's damaged the track already of Paluda, who's trying to back away, but he can't do it. 156. 1 more shell could do him in. Still Mojo needs to back off as well. These guys are severely in trouble. He's been taken down. Now just still Mojo stands in a 1v4 pretty much. Fire comes in from the right. He's got 2 tanks facing off against him. They're not landing the shells they need, but he is not in a good shape. He's
not in good shape, and he's standing in the middle of the field. Doesn't really get much worse than that. Mokizio punishing him once more, taking him down to 170, trying to kick the second shell, but not managing to do so, but blind shotting him anyway, taking him down. Very good sniping moves from Mokizio. Connecting the last shell. Fantastic stuff from him. And obviously those 2 T1s still alive for Kazna Crew, but it is steps to the T1s only there really to provide the information for the rest of the team, which they didn't do because they didn't have time. But they were going to be the last 2 tanks. Mokizio's going to mop up here. No problem at all, taking first. Crux before he's going to find Cobrillon, probably with a nice little ram move. Doesn't quite have the weight to round that one out straight away, but a good win for Team WD.
Certainly a very good win for Team WD. They needed that because, well, they haven't been doing well this season at all. 0 wins, which they're going to retain. But at least picking up that map, they did it in convincing style. They looked good there. When they went aggressive, it paid off. But why did we not see more of that?
I have no idea. That was perfect. That was really good. Like, they could have done that on any map, and they kind of did do it in Himmelsdorf, but they saw the weakness in Kazna Crew, and they know that from the south it's very hard to play the trench correctly because you don't have the kind of cover from the north as you do in the north. So they saw the weakness being that the T32 couldn't be down in the trench, so they knew that they could outnumber Kazna Crew there, push down, get some good damage on, come from the right, come from the left, use that defilade, and just focus the tanks down. And, you know, they didn't do that perfectly. A couple of tanks were on lower HP. They should have finished one off at a time. But generally, Team WD, just fantastic stuff at the end. And maybe just because they're a very good team on steps, But as you said, I would have just wanted to see more of that. And they just have to get the confidence to push forwards because they have the skill. And we just saw it.
Yeah, certainly. If they could apply that sort of mentality to all the other maps, could have been a different scoreline. But the finishing scoreline will be Kazna Crew 2, Team WD 1. Not ideal, 2 draws throughout this, but there were close games. And some of the games that Kazna Crew picked up, I feel as though they should have gone Team WD's way. But that's the way the cookie crumbles sometimes. Kazna Crew will pick this one up, and Team WD needs to look towards the next play day to really start getting that ball rolling for themselves, because 0 wins is not good for anyone. So that's our thoughts towards it, and well, I don't think we could have predicted that one. 2-1. I don't think either of us would have gone for that. We'd have probably gone for something a little bit more in favour to Kazna Crew, but they didn't show us, their real talent there. They were certainly missing out on some of the things they're so good at. They really looked a little bit of a lesser side. So, well, our predictions were pretty much wrong. Hopefully you guys at home weren't completely wrong. So let's find out how many of you are actually close to that. I can imagine most of you said Kazna Crew won it, but that scoreline was tough to pick. So Melly, how many people out there actually got that one right? Because I would never have guessed that.
I just quickly looked through the submissions, and I think it's around 2 or 3 people. We had like 80 people participating in this challenge. Thank you very much at this point. But as you said, most of the people at home definitely predicted a higher outcome for Kazna Crew. So they really didn't think about that Kazna Crew's giving up 2 draws. So
Wow.
whatever. But we have questions. As you at home may know, you have the chance to ask our 2 experts via Twitter questions. Everything what's on your heart, I will ask those 2 people next to me, those 2 lovely people. And just make sure you're using the hashtag WoT Pro League so I actually see those tweets. So are you ready, people? We have questions.
Oh, Lord.
What factors do teams take into consideration when picking tanks for each map?
Generally, I think there's probably 2 main factors. The first being, okay, is this tank just superb at everything? Is it good at shooting? Does it have the accuracy? Does it have the hold down ability? All these things. Is it just an uber tank? If it's an uber tank in just random battles in general, it's going to be good at esports.
Yep.
And I think the second factor, which is really important to consider, is it good? Extremely good, better than any other tank in the game at one specific thing. That's why we see tanks like the T-32 being picked, because it does have the 298mm of turret armor, and just the general tank is an absolute beast. So it's very good at staying alive. That's why that tank picked. So I think generally it's just those 2 factors that really come into effect. Obviously, if artillery is being picked, it's more of that random factor coming in. Although since the changes, it's a little bit too random. That's why the team's not picking that anymore.
Okay, the next question answered kind of itself, having a look at the last match. But do you believe that defending teams have more chance of winning? So overall, we see matches ending that way, to be honest.
Well, I don't necessarily agree that most defending teams. It takes a lot to go aggressive, and most of the good teams will, and they'll pull it off because they always have a backup plan. It's like you look at WoT Pro, look at Dignitas. They don't necessarily play defensive. They play fairly offensive, and they still look at their scoreline so far. It's unreal.
I think it's more to do with just play smart. You can't really say play defensive or offensive. Yeah. It doesn't really make sense in the terms of team play, because you play the best at that particular time. It doesn't really matter what you do. Obviously, if you're standing still and you're aiming up a road, you're going to get the shots off before the tanks that are driving, and you're more likely to hit because the reticle will be smaller.
Unless you're on Himmelsdorf and you're holding banana and so
you're still Mojo. Yeah.
That's the one.
Yeah.
Things can go wrong.
Yeah, I mean, there's always a chance, but I think at the end of the day, there's always a situation which favors either or, but just making that initial move, finding the weakness in the other team, making it and exploiting it before the other team can do the same to you, because there's always a weakness in every single strategy, every single team. So if you find it first, you make the move on it, taking the initiative, as we always say, you're going to take the win.
Yep.
Most of the time, at least.
And I think we all agree when we say hard camping doesn't work.
It doesn't work.
It really doesn't. It doesn't suit the game. It doesn't suit the tanks. It just makes players look boring.
That's more to do with just the team in general. Just maybe it's nothing to do with the game. It's just a team. Sometimes they decide to camp where there's not really any reason for it.
It just shows a little bit lack of strategies, and teams can take the advantage of it. That's the thing. As soon as they see that weakness, it's as much of a fault as going stupidly aggressive. If you're stupidly defensive, one tank falls, you're all kind of vulnerable to it.
Exactly.
So don't YOLO and don't camp. It's easy.
Find that middle ground.
Exactly. And a really nice question. How can people join the WoT Pro League? If I have a team and want to qualify for the World of Tanks Pro League, what do I have to do?
There's basically
ways.
3 ways. I mean, obviously, if you're in the top 6 at the end of the season, you're guaranteed entry into the next season of the World of Tanks Pro League. If you're in the bottom 6, then you play, bottom 4 actually, you play relegation. If you win that, you stay in the Pro League, and the last 2 get automatically relegated. Those last 2 spots are taken by A Series. And Go4. So if you're first in A Series for that season, and the season begins after the last relegation match, you do take that spot. And the obviously Go4, if you're in A Series, if you're first, then you do take the next spot. So those are the 2 options just to get automatically relegated to the next season of the World of Tanks Pro League. Yeah, that's pretty much everything.
And how often do the Go4 Cups start? Weekly?
Every Sunday from 1400 CEST. Yeah, so obviously A Series Season 4 has already started. You probably won't be able to get to the top of the league. Rusa's looking pretty strong with 544 points up there. But I guess if you can definitely qualify through Go4 if you just get some good results. As obviously, if you're playing Go4 and you're already qualified for the Tanks Pro League, you're not, those teams are just removed. They're not going to qualify again. Doesn't make any sense. So it's just a team which is not qualified, which can qualify.
The one thing that I do like about Go4s is a lot of the top teams still play it. So you can kind of try your hand against it. Because a lot of the other games, let's say, Go4s, you don't get the very top tier getting in there. It's normally like a kind of semi-professional level. But in WoT Tanks, it's not uncommon to see WoT Pro, seeing Dignitas, seeing all the top teams.
You see everything, yeah.
So if you do want to ever kind of test your hand, it's certainly worth trying out. If you've got a good couple of friends with you who think you're pretty good at WoT Tanks, give it a go. If you do want to check it out, only you have to Google ESL WoT Tanks.
Just go for what.com into your browser. Done.
There you go.
Easy. Thank you very much, Lofters. Thank you very much, Pensy. And if you have any questions left, just head over to our Twitter account, WoT Pro League, and tweet it. Just tweet it. I will read it out and get you your answers. And the next challenge on Facebook will be up soon. That's all.
Well, there you go. We obviously do have another game coming up. It is certainly not over yet. We'll be seeing the big dogs now going at it. We saw 2 kind of teams be doing okay for themselves, but coming up next will be Odin Mortis facing off against Mousesports. Now, bear in mind, Odin Mortis were once at the very top of this league. They've had a little bit of a slippery slope down, though. They haven't quite been getting the results they were originally. And, well, Mousesports have a lot to prove. They're sitting in 9th, so they need to start those wins getting under their belt now. So, guys, it's going to be a great game. It'll be about 10 minutes, so maybe go get the kettle on and get ready for this one, because we'll be back, and hopefully you will be as well.